we're really getting into a nightmare scenario.
Mm.
I mean, you walk downstairs and find a foot of water in your basement.
Oh.
It's so stressful, overwhelming, and it feels like a total catastrophe.
Well, it is a catastrophe, but, the material you brought in really proves that informed, immediate action is the only thing that stops it from becoming, well, a permanent hazard to your house and your health.
Right.
So our mission today isn't just to give you a cleanup list, it's to build a clear, step-by-step tactical guide from all these sources.
We're going to cut through that panic and focus on two things. First, absolute safety, and second, winning that race against the clock. We're also going to highlight some surprising facts, like why pumping water out too fast can actually, collapse your foundation.
And that critical window you have before water damage turns into a really serious mold problem.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this. When you first see that flooded basement, your mind is just racing, right? You're thinking about water removal.
Just get it out.
But the first thing we have to do before any of that, before the pumps, is handle safety and documentation.
Absolutely. So Section 1, the non-negotiable safety protocol. Before you even take a single step into that water, you have to turn off the power.
At the main circuit breaker, this is step 0.
It has to be. Water is an incredible conductor, and any contamination just makes it so much more hazardous.
And if you can't get to that breaker safely, maybe the water's already covering it or the path is wet.
You stop.
You stop right there. You call a qualified electrician. You never, ever try to wade through water to mess with electrical systems.
Okay, and even when the power is off, you have to resist that urge to, test an outlet or turn on the furnace, right?
Oh, absolutely. Nothing gets turned on until a professional has inspected it, dried it, and certified that it's safe.
Okay, so we've confirmed the area is de-energized. Then it's time to suit up.
Right. And we're talking about mandatory protective equipment, PPE.
We need waterproof boots, thick rubber gloves.
And just general protective clothing. But let's talk about the air quality, because even if you can't see mold yet, that water is full of contaminants.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Especially if it's from a sewage backup or just general outdoor flooding.
The risk is high. And if mold is already visible, or if you're dealing with outside water, the sources are clear. You need an N95 or an N100 face mask.
Right from the start.
You have to protect your respiratory system.
Okay, so we're safe, we're suited up. Now comes that second crucial step of the first hour. The documentation imperative.
This cannot wait. I mean it. Before you touch a single thing, before you even open a window.
Before you start a pump.
You need comprehensive photos and video evidence. This is your foundation for recovery.
And when we say comprehensive, we mean it. Don't just take one quick picture from the stairs.
No.
You need wide shots that show the water level, medium shots of the damaged walls and floors, and close-ups of specific expensive things that are ruined.
That visual proof is what shows the extent of the loss to your insurance company.
So, connecting this to the bigger picture, delaying this even for a couple of hours could cost you thousands.
It really could, because your next step is immediate water removal and then, throwing stuff out. If the insurance adjuster doesn't see how bad it was at the very beginning.
Or the destroyed carpet is already on the curb.
They just have way less evidence to base their payment on. Documentation and triage, they have to happen at the same time.
That makes perfect sense. The need for speed in the cleanup is so intense that you could actually destroy the evidence of the damage itself.
Exactly.
So once documentation is done, we move to Section 2, getting the water out and that horrifying countdown to mold.
Time is now the enemy. For, let's say, manageable water levels, a few inches, a good wet-dry vac can probably do the job.
Or for a serious flood.
You absolutely need a deployable sump pump to get that water out efficiently.
Now, this is the aha moment I really wanted to get into, because it just goes against every single instinct you have. You want the water out now. But the source material is so clear on this critical structural detail, you have to pump it out gradually. Why can't I just drain the basement as fast as possible?
This is a crucial engineering detail. It's called hydrostatic pressure. Think about your basement walls, okay? They're like the walls of an empty swimming pool.
Okay.
If the ground outside is still soaked with floodwater, that water is pushing inward on your foundation.
It's basically a massive hydraulic squeeze on your house.
Exactly. So if you empty the basement too quickly, the pressure inside drops to nothing, but that pressure outside is still extremely high.
And then be balanced.
That imbalance can literally cause your basement walls to buckle or crack or even collapse inward.
Yeah.
You have to pump the water out at roughly the same rate that the floodwaters are receding outside. It's safety over pure speed.
That one detail changes the entire pace of the cleanup. It's about calculated risk mitigation, not just panic.
Right.
So once that structural risk is managed and the standing water is gone, the real race begins. The mold time bomb.
And this timeline, it's unforgiving. It's absolute. Mold growth begins in as little as 24 to 48 hours if wet things aren't dried out.
Not a suggestion.
Yeah.
A hard deadline.
It's definitive. A flooded basement will cause significant mold if materials aren't fully dry within that 48-hour window. This is the difference between a water damage claim and a much more expensive mold remediation project.
So as soon as that standing water is gone, the drying has to start aggressively.
And simultaneously with the cleaning, it's a full-on industrial attack. You need high-volume fans, sometimes called air movers, and powerful dehumidifiers.
And you set them up all over the basement.
Multiple units. You're creating a high-speed air exchange to just continuously pull that moisture out of the air.
Okay, what about opening windows? That seems logical.
Only, and this is a big only, if the outdoor humidity is lower than the indoor humidity. If it's raining outside or just really humid, you're actually letting more moisture in. You're making the dehumidifiers work harder and slowing everything down.
So you create your own dry, closed environment.
Exactly.
So what's the reality check on the timeline here? We know mold starts in 48 hours, but how long until the house is actually truly dry?
Getting the moisture out of the concrete, out of the wood framing. Complete drying can take up to 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Depending on how saturated everything got. You have to be patient and keep those machines running until a moisture meter tells you the structure is safe.
Okay, so we've documented, we've carefully removed the water, the fans are roaring. Now we're in section 3, cleaning, disinfecting, and the chemical warnings that people often forget when they're exhausted.
The first cleaning step is just physical removal. If there's mud or silt, you shovel it out.
Right.
Then you take a high-pressure hose to the concrete walls and scrub them hard with a stiff bristle brush and a strong detergent.
Why detergent first?
Because you have to physically remove the dirt and the surface mold spores first. Detergent and water will actually lift and remove mold colonies, killing them in the process. Disinfection comes after that.
So once the surfaces are scrubbed clean, then we disinfect to kill the bacteria and whatever's left. What's the protocol for using bleach correctly?
The rule is really precise here. You use disinfectant or diluted bleach only on hard, non-porous surfaces
After they're clean.
after they've been cleaned with detergent. For the bleach solution, the recommendation is a half cup of standard chlorine bleach mixed with 1 gallon of water.
And it needs contact time, doesn't it? It's not an instant thing.
Not at all.
Oh.
To be effective, you have to let that solution sit on the surface for at least 10 minutes before you rinse it off. That's what actually sterilizes the surface.
Now, this is so important. The paramount safety warning. I really want to stress this because it's a lethal mistake people can make when they're just desperate to clean.
This is non-negotiable. You never mix bleach with ammonia or any acid-based cleaner.
What happens?
When they combine, they create highly toxic gases like chloramine gas. In a confined space like a basement, it can cause severe respiratory damage or even death almost immediately.
And it happens when people think, oh, I'll just mix these 2 cleaners to make it stronger.
It's a terrible idea. Stick with simple detergent and that specific diluted bleach solution. And another thing, never use bleach on porous stuff.
Why not?
It won't fully penetrate things like drywall or wood to kill the mold deep inside. All it does is add more moisture. For those porous items, the rule is simple. They have to be discarded.
So just to recap the whole sanitation process. Remove standing water, throw out saturated stuff, clean every surface with detergent, disinfect the hard surfaces, and then dry everything completely for up to 2 weeks.
It's a comprehensive sequential operation, and you have to understand the difference between cleaning, which is physical removal, and sanitation, which is killing pathogens. And then finally, complete drying.
Okay, let's move to section 4. This is often the most emotionally draining part of it all, figuring out what stays and what goes.
And this section is completely governed by that 48-hour clock we've been talking about. You have to remove and discard all of those deeply saturated porous materials if they cannot be fully dried within 48 hours.
Can you define porous materials for someone facing this? Like, what are we talking about in a typical basement?
Sure. It's anything that readily absorbs and holds water. So in a basement, that means wet drywall, insulation, especially fiberglass.
All the carpeting.
All carpeting and the padding underneath, most furniture upholstery, particle board, If it's soaked, it's compromised, it has to go.
Because it just harbors contaminants and mold.
And it prevents the actual structure, like the wood framing, from ever drying out properly. If it can't be saved in 48 hours, it has to be sacrificed for the long-term health of the house.
What about things that might be salvageable? Like, I don't know, hard tools or plastic storage bins?
You move anything non-porous to a well-ventilated area to dry completely. Clean them, disinfect them, and only then do you decide what to keep once they are bone dry.
And we have to circle back to documentation here. I know it's exhausting, but before you drag that disgusting, soggy carpet to the curb, what do you have to do?
You have to take photos and videos of everything you discard. You need visual proof of the loss and the contamination before it leaves your property.
This proves to the insurance company that you were mitigating the damage,
Yeah.
right, by getting rid of the mold harboring stuff.
Exactly. And it substantiates the claims for the items themselves.
So once everything's out and the space is finally dry, the last battle is often the smell.
Yeah.
That musty odor that just seems to linger forever.
It lingers because the source, the biological growth, hasn't been fully eliminated. So step one is always removing all the wet porous materials. Then you have to ensure the structure is completely dry with those industrial fans.
Continuous ventilation.
It's critical. And once it's clean and dry, you can use things like baking soda or commercial enzymatic deodorizers that actually break down the odor-causing compounds.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Money. Does standard flood insurance actually cover this massive cleanup effort?
It does pay for cleanup, but it's extremely complex. Coverage depends entirely on your specific policy.
And here's the crucial detail, right? Standard flood insurance policies, especially the ones through FEMA, have pretty big limitations on basement coverage.
Huge limitations. They often limit coverage strictly to structural elements and essential systems.
So what does that mean, foundation walls?
Foundation walls, furnaces, water heaters, electrical systems, but they often explicitly exclude coverage for contents or finished areas.
Wait, so the brand new drywall you just put up, the carpet, the entertainment system, all the stuff you were forced to throw away in 48 hours?
It might not be covered by your flood policy.
That is a harsh reality.
Yeah.
You could be covered for the structure, but all the expensive finishings that you had to toss to prevent mold are just your loss.
Precisely. Which makes that initial documentation, even for things that might not be reimbursed, absolutely vital for any other kind of claim.
And it also drives home why sometimes you just have to call in the professionals. When is it time to admit this job is too big?
When you need absolute certainty that it's dry and decontaminated. Certified water damage restoration companies. This is what they do.
They have the right equipment.
They have specialized equipment. Industrial dehumidifiers, high-velocity air movers, and most importantly, moisture meters. They can tell you if the structure is dry down to its core.
And that's the difference between guessing your basement is dry and knowing it's dry.
Exactly. Guessing leaves you vulnerable to hidden mold growing behind the walls months later. The cost of calling them is often far less than the cost of a delayed, incomplete job that leads to a huge mold problem.
This has been an intensely practical deep dive. To wrap this up, the recovery process seems to be built on 3 critical pillars. First, safety.
Power off, PPE on, mandatory.
Second, speed. You have to respect that 24 to 48-hour mold deadline. It dictates everything.
It dictates drying and disposal.
And third, documentation. You capture every bit of damage and every single item you discard before it's gone.
You're really facing a dual threat.
Yeah.
There's the immediate physical danger, electrocution, chemicals, and then there's the rapid long-term hazard of mold. Knowing that 48-hour rule and the risks of pumping too quickly, those are the strategies that will protect your property and your health.
And this leaves us with our final provocative thought for you to consider. We've learned that standard flood insurance often restricts coverage to just structural elements and essential systems, frequently excluding contents and finished materials like drywall and carpet. So given that the huge list of materials you must throw away within that 48-hour window might not be covered, are you truly prepared to document and absorb those substantial losses? And what preemptive steps could you take today to minimize that specific exposure before the floodwaters ever rise?
Think about that gap between what your structure is worth and what your contents are worth. Until next time, stay safe and stay dire.